Forgotten sins. The first entries seem innocuous. Mundane details about daily life, friends, hobbies. My name written repeatedly, as if to reaffirm my shattered identity. They perfectly capture my lost memories from before the accident that left me with amnesia. I eagerly keep reading, hoping to reconstruct my forgotten past. It begins subtly. A minor acquaintance I supposedly had an argument with leaves town unexpectedly. An unfamiliar woman's photo falls out of the journal, her face angrily scratched out. Assaulted, my therapist suggests when I show him the image. Your subconscious trying to process guilt. I nod along, but unease nags me. I have no recollection of these people or events. My gut says something is very wrong here. But each time I tearfully confess my confusion, my therapist reminds me that amnesia can delete traumatic memories. I have to trust the untainted journals. So I bury my doubts and continue reading. The friendly mundanity slowly erodes into obsession and anger. These pages contain a man I don't recognize, who flies into rages over petty slights. The writings describe stalking an ex-girlfriend, attacking a rude bartender. My head shakes involuntarily, these acts repulse me. But the therapist urges patience and compassion for my forgotten sins. The damning revelation comes midway through the latest volume. Amidst familiar banal details, one chilling sentence, I took care of the Mulryan problem for good this time. My blood turns to ice. Vague words, but my body reacts viscerally to their sinister implication. I know in my core this crosses a line, even if my conscious mind cannot remember why. I bring the journal to my next therapy session. I think I may have killed someone named Mulryan. Just saying the words aloud releases a floodgate of panic. My therapist tries to soothe me, saying confusing violent thoughts are common in amnesiacs. He tells me to focus on self-care, not unproductive guilt over hypothetical deeds. I let his rationalizations pacify me once more. But now a pervasive dread accompanies my reading. Each mundane detail seems menacing in the shadow of my implied crime. The therapist encourages me to stop reading for now, saying the journals are needlessly upsetting me. But I refuse. Good or evil, these words contain my lost self. I have to know the man I was and what I may have done. The damning hints accumulate, excruciating in their vagueness. A violent encounter with a stranger outside a bar. A weapon and clothes buried in the woods. Receipts for bleach, duct tape, an industrial carpet cleaner after the Mulryan reference. All detached snippets devoid of context, like finding pieces of a grisly puzzle I do not have the framework to assemble. Desperate for the truth, I secretly bribe a nurse to let me view news archives on her computer. An hour of frantic searching finally yields a decades-old article about the homicide of a local man named Frank Mulryan. My shaking hands print the article. This murder I apparently alluded to actually occurred. At my next session, I silently slide the article across the desk to my therapist. His calm facade finally fractures. Frank Mulryan was a dangerous man, he says carefully. You had your reasons, even if you can't remember them now. The fact that you feel such remorse shows how much you have grown. His rationalizations snap something in me. Don't you see? The man in these journals is a murderer. And you're acting as if it was justified. I am trembling and nauseated. The therapist tries to calm me, but I flee his office in revulsion. Alone again in my apartment, madness creeps over me. Who is this fiend scribbling confessions of unspeakable violence in my handwriting, and how is he familiar to everyone but me? Forbidden by the hospital, I guzzle a bottle of whiskey, desperate to dull my racing thoughts. Pages of the journal lie strewn around me. I pass out atop their unsettling chronicle. When I wake, my head throbs. Bile rises in my throat as swirling memories solidify into a hellish mosaic. Mulryan was not my only victim. Faces of other strangers loom, their deaths by my hand playing out in bursts of chilling recollection. I lurch to the bathroom and retch violently. The creature reflected in the mirror is a stranger to me. A murderer wearing my skin who the doctors insist is simply an older version of myself. But I recognize nothing of my core self in the bloodthirsty fiend who penned these journals. Yet there is no denying the damning words match my handwriting perfectly. If I cannot remember my own monstrous past, then I will find someone who does. I stagger drunkenly to my car, veering wildly toward the ramshackle motel on the edge of town. The seedy place my other self rented frequently to meet his clandestine contacts. Someone there must remember what depraved secrets I am missing. In a dingy corner room reeking of stale cigarettes, an emaciated man starts at my presence. Recognition flares in his sunken eyes. Wordlessly, he hands me a creased photo of a child playing in a park. I shudder, somehow knowing she was an innocent life I snuffed out. You said it was done. That she wouldn't talk no more. His voice quavers with accusation. My blood turns to ice. What evil purpose was this fragile girl forced to serve that only her death would satisfy? I flee in revulsion from the damning photo, from this living witness to my forgotten brutality. I cannot escape the twisted stranger I have become to these people. I am irrevocably trapped in the skin of a monster I do not know. I pound my fists bloody against the walls of my apartment, howling pleas for sudden comprehension. If no cure exists that can restore me to myself, then let oblivion take me. But the revelations do not cease their cruel assault. When concerned nurses enter my room the next day, they find me huddled in the corner, notebooks piled around me. I have feverishly filled pages with names, places, fragment memories of lives destroyed and horrors committed. A desperate attempt to excise the dark revelations from my mind. The nurse who pities me most tells me the journals were a fabrication, filled with false crimes to teach empathy to a real but unrepentant killer who could not remember his victims. The life they gave me, blissfully blank, ready for reform, was meant as a second chance I now reject. Their experimental justice has failed. She pleads with me to trust their methods as nurses restrain me. To begin again knowing I have only goodness in my unwritten future. Her naive and compassionate eyes reflect back a man I wish desperately could exist. But it is far too late, I have already glimpsed the monster lurking beneath. I let them carry me away, limp with resignation that I will never find myself now. My true identity is forever lost, scattered across the journal's pages in fragments of blood and sin. There is only the murderer's maze left to wander, detached from the crimes committed in my name. But though I forget, the victims remember. And they will call relentlessly to me from the abyss until I acquiesce at last, allowing my monstrous past to consume what remains of my fractured mind.